Good evening, everyone. It's Wednesday, May 4th, and this is the Historic and Architectural Review Board. I'd like to call this meeting to order. First is Pledge of Allegiance. We're starting with some old business tonight. Harb number 2016-04, 406 North Wayne Avenue. Would you like to approach and show us what you've got?
Evening, I'm Nick Camellia. I represent the owner of the property, Ben Sparango. Sure. I know several of you have seen this before, and I'll just go over it quickly. Also, Ben's here, as is Mark Asher, the architect. And I know a neighbor is here that wasn't here last time. She was here before the Board of Commissioners. The Flanagans are here, who are a neighbor, immediate neighbor. So this is an existing duplex on North Wayne Avenue. It's actually the last property in the Harb, in the North Wayne Harb. As you'll see the picture here, you should have this in front of you. Some of this. This is the North Wayne Harb, and what we're talking about here is the property with the asterisk on it, and right next to it is the apartment building. And so this is the last property in the Harb, and then I believe it goes up to property C, or may even go further up on the other side of the street. But at least on the North Wayne side, it's the last property in the Harb. What he's requesting is a current duplex, a rental property. It's a current duplex. He's requesting to demolish it, as I believe you are aware, and to construct a new property that really is much more in conformity with the North Wayne area, the North Wayne Harb, the style of the property that he's reconstructing than what currently exists. This went to, I believe last time it was a 2-2 vote from this board. It went to the Board of Commissioners. Board of Commissioners recommending that we go back to you to see if we can work it out with you. Also at the Board of Commissioners, as I mentioned, the Flanagans also appeared, and they're here tonight, and they can speak on their behalf. We have some existing photographs that I believe you are aware of that you've seen previously. This is the existing home. And also, there is a rear of the property. The existing home is stucco over brick, so actually it was an old brick building at one time, and they stuccoed over it. And the problem now is there's issues with the stucco. And additionally, you have in the rear of the property an addition that was built years ago, but much later than when the actual building itself was constructed. And that addition actually has no foundation. And you can see it a little better on this photograph in the rear here. You can see the part of the addition that we're referring to here and here. And that was, you could tell it's an addition. It looks like it's some sort of clapboard, and it has no foundation on it, so it was an addition. So for those reasons, and also the age of the home, Ben's looking to demolish it and actually construct a new home, which would be a single-family residence, so he'd be getting rid of the duplex. He did attempt to sell this, and the only offers on it were for rental properties. So he feels that this is more consistent with the North Wayne character. I'll ask Mark to come up here, and Mark, perhaps you can describe what the existing or what the proposed property would look like, and also give some renderings. And also, I believe there were some comments made last time you were before the board, this board, and I believe that you have made some the requested modifications as requested by the board at that time. Here's the color facade of it.
Well, this was the... Good evening.
It's on, I think.
Am I on? Yes. This was the earlier submission, and there were a few comments from the board that we have subsequently addressed. So if I were to maybe put them side by side, relatively minor material changes. There was a metal roof shown over the porch that was deemed inappropriate, so we went back to the roof to match the main house. The porch also had a decorative bracket, very hard to see on the porch columns. That was deemed inappropriate, so it was removed. And then on the another elevation, the chimney had an inset panel of brick that I believe we were asked to remove, and we did that as well. So the substance of the project hasn't changed. It was just those relatively minor material changes. You know, as noted before, and I think again, it's a relatively small single-family home in a pretty sympathetic way to the cues and materials and styles of the buildings around it.
Also remember, too, if the board's afraid of precedent, which I don't know if they are, every case is unique here. And it certainly is unique in this instance in that we're at the edge of the district and we're actually constructing something that is more in line with the district than what currently exists there today. Certainly we're willing to answer any questions that you may have for any of us here. And as I mentioned, I know there's a neighbor here that I'm sure would like to speak on the matter too.
I know my biggest question put forth before was about the quality of the existing building and the need to tear it down. I asked for more information on that. Is there anything more about that?
I do have a letter from an engineer. It's a brief letter and basically describing the items that I just mentioned to you, but I'll hand that up too.
Forgive me, I'm new to this board. My question is, does the owner plan to sell the house? Is it being built on spec, or does he plan to live there?
Ben, what, you got to stand up.
Yes, we would plan on selling it, or maybe even moving into it. It depends on the market.
Thank you. Thank you.
I believe also, as we're aware, there was a chimney, I think, that came down last time. That was 2 years ago. That was presented to the board as well.
Was there a public comment that wanted to be made upon this?
Sorry, I don't want to move it.
No, go ahead. You're good. You're good. Oh, you want to?
Yeah, I have something on the computer. Thanks very much.
Good evening, Greg Pritchard. I live in the district, and this might take a minute to load up. Apologies, it's an older computer from what I hear. Oh, that's cool. I just wanted to speak a little bit about the significance of the property, given that it is a...
Who are you, and what is your purpose in speaking to us?
I'm sorry. Yeah, my name is Greg Pritchard, and I live in the district. I'm also a board member of the Radnor Historical Society. The Significance of the property is what I'd like to speak about. As previously noted, the building is within the district, even if it is on the edge of it, and it's a contributing resource, which means that it dates within the period of significance for the district. Precisely, it dates from about 1884. It's therefore one of the oldest houses in the district. It was built by the firm Wendell and Smith from a design by architects Brown and Day of Philadelphia. Wendell and Smith started out building row houses in Philadelphia. They then became the most successful suburban developers of the late Victorian era. In between 1885 and 1900, they sold over $4 million of real estate in Wayne, Overbrook Farms, and elsewhere. In today's dollars, that's about $150 million. This is a year before that time period. It's when they were just sort of getting their feet wet in the suburban development field. And it's exemplary of their work of the period. Here are three examples of the kinds of buildings they constructed in Wayne in the mid-1880s. The small cottage in the upper left, what they called the medium cottage in the upper right, and then the larger cottages seen below, which were located on North Wayne Avenue, West Wayne Avenue, Lancaster Avenue. What this led to was an extremely successful development, expanding into North Wayne, Walnut Avenue, Beechtree Lane, and so forth, which created what's now the North Wayne Historic District. In fact, Wendell and Smith went on to create what are now 3 nationally listed, National Register of Historic Places listed historic districts in the Philadelphia area. When the houses, such as the one in question, were first built, in about 1884, they were sold for $3,200 each. And this is just a fragment of a real estate ad, but it gives you an idea of the original appearance of the house. It was stick style. It had this sort of grid work pattern on the facade. Here's another view of one of the identical homes on the block as it looked around 1910. And in fact, there were at least 10 of these houses along North Wayne Avenue, seen in the red dots. The green dot is 406 North Wayne Avenue. And back when this map was made in 1887, they were really the only houses in North Wayne. The rest of the land had been subdivided, but they were the pioneers of this nationally registered district. That's about it. I'd just like to end with a few photographs of 311 North Wayne Avenue, which 3 years ago was in similar condition to 406 today and was completely rehabbed. I'll just run through these images of how that work progressed. In fact, these homes are frame on top of brick foundations. They are not brick all the way up, stuccoed over. Large planks, old growth wood. When the stucco was taken off of this house, it revealed the original fabric underneath, the original facade treatments. It was a very extensive renovation. Now, what resulted isn't what I would say is a perfect restoration, but it did prove, at least to me, that these houses were built very sturdily. This is a house identical in plan and age and construction to 406 North Wayne, and this is how it looks today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Did anybody have any questions for him? All right, I saw some other hands go up. Do you want to approach? Oh, no.
My name is Pamela Jensen, and I have lived for the past 30 years at 407 North Wayne Avenue. And that is directly across the street from 406, the property at issue this evening. In 1983, when my husband and I bought our house, and now, one major reason for choosing to live where I do is the historic character of my neighborhood. right in the heart of Wayne. Our neighborhood is not a reproduction. Our neighborhood is the real thing. It's a genuine, unique, historic neighborhood with original 19th century structures. They are well-built, they are generally well-maintained, and they're eminently functional and comfortable. However, whenever we lose an original structure, we diminish slightly my neighborhood, and I would argue that we diminish Wayne. I've watched for decades the neglect of 406, which has been continually occupied with oft-changing tenants. And I would also stress that 406 remains occupied. And I'm stressing that because apparently there was some confusion about that fact, at least in the beginning of these deliberations. Neglect as a slow path to destruction should not be condoned. I'm asking the board to preserve the unique and historic character and value of my neighborhood pursuant to the Historic Districts Ordinance, and not to grant a certificate that involves demolition of the current structure at 406. Rehabilitation of 406 is the appropriate option. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. I believe there was another hand that went up. Come on up.
Good evening. My name is Kathleen Flanagan. I live at 404, directly next door to the property in question. And we have lived in our house, which predates all these North Wayne little bungalows, for, Colleen's 32 years. I also am a believer in historic preservation, and I was voted for the HARB. The HARB was not in existence when I bought my home. When my husband and I bought my home. So, you know, they came around and the people wanted to know, because there was an incident in North Wayne that 2 homes were built where another home was built, and they were newer and people didn't like it, so thus the HARB was instituted, which I was in total agreement with. However, I live next door to this property that has no windows on the second floor, and no storm windows, and dogs sit there with their heads hanging outside. One dog comes to the fence. I park my car away from it because he jumps on the fence, and it has been a slow neglect. And Mr. Sparango is on record as saying if he cannot build, it will continue. Now, I'm an invested property owner in this township, and my property values are going down, down, down because of this. And I think his plans here look like they could fit into the neighborhood, and yet I do believe in restoration, and if it could be restored, I think that would be great. But I think if it's not, then there needs to be some accountability on how this property is maintained. I've been to the township time after time after time. There's a pool there. I have 8 grandchildren under the age of 8 that come to my house. I'm worried about these dogs now. Now that has nothing to do with Mr. Spranger. They're his tenants, and he's allowed them to be there. That's fine. But this is 32 years, and that house was lived in by a single person, a single family when we first moved in, and then it just kept going down, down, down. And the pool now has a cover, but for years didn't, and there was geese living in it and everything else. So something needs to be done. I don't know, I know the HARB can only make recommendations, but I will be back before the Board of Commissioners if your recommendation is, if it's going to remain as it is. So I'm between a rock and a hard place. I do believe in the restoration, and my neighbors are great, but they all live across the street. None of them live right next door. So, and I know Mr. Pritchard, had actually sent me an email saying, people should be educated what the HARB does. I voted for the HARB. I live there. My property taxes, my property values, after 30-some years, sometimes you want to downsize, and, So that's where my husband and I stand. We're not, and I'm not trying to trash Mr. Sparango or anything, but it can't stay the way it is, in my opinion. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Tom Lowy, 417 North Wayne Avenue. I live across the street from the subject property. It's my understanding that demolition by neglect is not allowed to be a cause for demolition. So if you've owned the property for more than 20 years and you've not put any effort into maintaining it and just let it decay, that is not a valid reason to apply for a demolition permit and shouldn't be allowed. That's the purpose of the HARB, is to keep people from letting properties that they own degrade and decay, and then apply to demolish them because it's less expensive to build a new house and sell it. I believe Mr. Sparango when he says he's going to move in as his primary residence. Totally. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on this? Go ahead. I guess we have another one.
Hi, I'm Tom Flanagan, Kathy's husband. As she mentioned, we live right next door to the property, and I'm not going to get into the condition of the property or anything. I think that's already been addressed. But the thing is, and there's a lot of neighbors here, if HARP tells Mr. Sparango that they can't, he can't build the property as shown here, which I think looks great. The alternative, if he decides he doesn't want to restore it, is basically that the house stays, and all the real estate values of the neighbors probably stay down. As the next door neighbor to the place, I just want to see an improvement. I want to see a nice house next door and not a rundown old house, which we've lived next to for 30 years, 32 years, and it's gradually deteriorated. I have no problem with HARP, but I don't want to see it held up over bureaucracy or whatever. So, thank you.
Thank you.
May I read first?
Sure.
I was Tom Lowy. I was speaking with someone who used to be on the HARB, and I don't have the study exactly in hand, but it has been shown that historic districts, houses within historic districts that are historic and the historic district is maintained, have increased property values over those historic districts that allow houses to be demolished and new houses to be built. So as far as having property values decrease is concerned, the likelihood of the property values being decreased over time with new houses being built because old houses are neglected and demolished will decrease the values over time rather than increase them.
Thank you.
Sorry, I forgot to make one really quick point. I think it's pretty clear that, and obvious, that this house was not built as a duplex. It was built as a small single-family home. It's been turned into a duplex, apparently within the last 30 years. And also the idea that a house could be deemed unsalvageable because of the condition of its mudroom addition is a bit of a stretch, I think. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. I can tell that there's a lot of emotion around this property. And I want to be sympathetic to both sides. This is a historic building. Quite honestly, the engineering letter received really doesn't give any indication that the house does need to be demolished. It does indicate that the stucco needs to be redone. So that is not very convincing, at least to me. The other board members can comment on that. But I do understand that it is difficult to live next to a house that has not been taken care of, and to know what that is doing to your property values. So I really do appreciate all of the people that came forward today. Was there another comment that you guys wanted to make?
This house has not been historic for many, many years, certainly before Mr. Sparango acquired it. It has lost all historic nature of the house, and that is why I said every case is unique here. All of us want to preserve the old Victorian nature of North Wayne Avenue. This is doing nothing to enhance the nature of North Wayne Avenue.
I'm going to have to stop you there. We are required to look at all houses in a historic district, so to say that there's no historic significance remaining is not really something that we can consider.
Well, I think you can consider it. I mean, you considered all the other comments, certainly can consider what I'm stating also. Now, you may not agree with it, but you can consider it. All right? Also, I believe the architect would like to make some comments about the structure of the house as well.
Well, I don't think I was going to comment about the structure of the house, because I don't think that was really why I was brought into this. We saw, we're hard to do a project, we're hard to do a nice project. And, as an architect, we run into this, I don't say run into this, but we deal with regulatory issues all day, every day. And maybe this is one we didn't see coming. I've told this story many times, but we did a house here in Windermere, on Windermere Avenue, before there was a harb. And what we did with my client, we walked around Wayne and we photographed every house in town and extracted the appropriate DNA from those houses. We tore down a 1960s ranch house. We're not sure how that occurred, but we tore it down and built this lovely building on Windermere about maybe 10 years ago or so. So I think what I'm saying is, I'm not really sure what this board is here for. I kind of walked into this thinking we were going to make a nice project, and that's all we were doing. Really, what an uptown problem you guys have. We're going to take down this house that's kind of an eyesore and make this beautiful little house. This is not some Toll Brothers subdivision. This is not some McMansion. This is a cedar roof, cedar-sided, brick, lovely little gem of a building. It's please come.
Can I stop you, sir?
Please come
this
build
is
one
not
in
a
my town.
condemnation of your design.
Well, I appreciate that, and I have heard nice comments about it, but that's where we have found ourselves, and I think maybe it's possible to say there is in my work and what we've done is sort of a rising tide lifts all boats mentality. What we do here, and I would make the argument that if with the building we were going to make here, it's going to increase everybody's property value. Maybe it brings people in who can afford to renovate these buildings the way they need to be renovated. I was pretty underwhelmed by the renovation of the project that we showed up here. Somebody saved the building and then lathered it with asphalt roof and, bad windows and so on. So not every building that is saved and is renovated is really what we want, where this building is that. I think there's just something really valuable about sort of an optimistic view of moving forward with something better that was there than just, this is an old building, we should save it. So, if this were, you're going to see a presentation after me of a building we're doing, a beautiful old house that we're saving and adding onto, and I think you'll find it, just a good thing. And I think this is a good thing, and that's why we're here, to make a good thing. So that's my spleen. I'm sorry I ran a little bit, but
Thank you.
there you are. Thank you.
All right. Do we have any comments from the board at this point in time?
No. There we go. Is a pattern of neglect, but I see it as deliberate neglect because there have been complaints from the neighbors and neglect to the point that there's, quote, justification on the part of the would-be builder for taking it down. And the human equivalent would be the little boy who kills his parents and then pleads for leniency because he's an orphan. You can't, to cause that kind of neglect is questionable in itself, but to use it as an excuse after so doing to tear down a house that has historic significance doesn't fly with me.
I'll allow one more public comment. Go ahead.
Just one more thing. I want you to understand that this is a township I mean, you as a board and the Board of Commissioners really need to speak, because Pam, I know we have spoken, we have gone time and time and time to the township, the zoning code. We were the ones who heard the chimney come tearing down, and it was just patched over. I was time after time about the pool, and time after time, the zoning code, they came back, no problems, no problems, no problems. So the township has turned a blind eye to this home for the same 30 years. And now the neighbors are dealing with it. So I just want that to be, and that would be our only refuge to go back to, as the Board of Commissioners should. And I don't want to influence you on which, I do want to influence you, obviously I'm here, but should you deny it, and Mr. Sperango intends to keep it the way it is, every time I've gone to the zoning code and Mr. Zinkowski and Mr. Kachansky, no problem, we checked it out, no problem, it's okay. So, we should be all working together to solve this problem, everybody in the township. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, just to make a comment, I'm sorry, go ahead. Okay. Just kind of going along with what Ms. Flanagan has stated, this building is not in violation of any township ordinances. All right, so I just want to make that clear. We talk about neglect or whatever. The neglect is that it's an older building that, as we mentioned, I know there was a stucco problem, there was a problem with the chimney, there was a problem obviously with the rear, but it is in conformity with the township codes and regulations. So I just want to make the board aware of that it's not something that's out of conformity with codes and regulations.
I have a question for you.
Sure, I'm sorry.
In my opinion, I think that it's been established that that property is one of the more older properties in that North Wayne Historic District. And to me, that speaks volumes about what we're supposed to do. I have two questions for you, which I thought of about the property. Number one, what are your estimated building costs for your proposal that you want to do right now?
You don't have them yet? Okay.
That is not an appropriate question for your board.
Oh, okay.
Madam Chairman, you can't allow a question like that. That's hard.
All right, at this point in time, I cannot recommend a certificate of appropriateness. Can anybody else on the board?
May I speak for 1 minute?
What are you speaking about? I really don't want to hear any more discourses.
406 North Wayne Avenue I'm speaking about. I understand that people don't like change. I'm assuming that people aren't driving cars that are 1940s cars in Wayne only, and people are driving new cars. There is a reason for that. We do build new construction. I understand that the Historical Review Board does not like that, but the cost of renovating an older structure as opposed to building a new one, giving it to new foundation, that house has a 7-foot ceiling in the basement. Not many people like to buy houses with 7-foot ceilings in their basement that are all stone, that are pervious to water, that are not waterproof properly. Those expenses, that costs money to be able to do all that. And the cost to renovate that house to its value after you're done renovating it is probably prohibited. So whether I sell this house as it stands and someone buys it from me, I think the person that buys it is not going to be able to spend the money that it needs to make it a house that would be livable and habitable for today. So the only reason why we came in here for a new house is not to destroy the neighborhood. We came with a plan that we thought would be complementary to the neighborhood. That's all.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, the board cannot recommend a certificate of appropriateness for this project. And we're going to move on to the next order of business, HARB 2016-06, 401 Midland Avenue.
Madam Chairman, there needs to be a vote, public vote taken. You have to have a show of hands as to who votes yes, who votes no. It has to be a public record, yes.
Okay, so a show of hands to recommend a certificate of appropriateness for 406 North Wayne Avenue. All in favor, say aye. No? Okay.
There should be a motion made to either accept or deny their certificate of appropriateness.
I will make the motion to deny the certificate of demolition to this property. I make the motion to deny the certificate of demolition to this property. Certificate of appropriateness for demolition of this property. Thank you very much.
All in favor to deny?
Somebody has to second it.
Or second it?
Okay.
Okay, so once again, HARB 2016-06, 401 Midland Avenue.
Good evening. Let me know when you're ready.
Go ahead, you can begin.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. We're here to get a certificate of appropriateness for a restoration and sympathetic addition to 401 Midland. The house is a arts and crafts Victorian shingle-style home, and we believe it was circa 1890 to 1892. And it was part of the Wayne Estate, Drexel and Childs development. And this particular design was built by Wendell and Smith, and the architects were William and Frank Price. They did a number of, excuse me, I don't want to belabor you with feedback. I'm going to try, maybe this one's better. They did a number of options for the development, plans A through F, and this is an example of house style E. The house is largely original. Where it is not original is primarily in the siding. There are currently 5 to 6 types of siding on the building. We have evidence from the Historic Society. You can see here. This 1960s photo still shows the building with its original shingle siding. Much of that has been covered over by a mix of vinyl, aluminum, and in some areas replaced with wood clapboard. The main section of the house is going to be fully restored. The original windows, trim, all will be saved. Interior details as well will be saved. And we'll be restoring the original shingle in the areas where it has been removed. As part of adapting this home and saving it, we are trying to make it more livable to the family's needs. And to do that, we're proposing extending an existing one-story portion at the back of the house to join the house to a carriage house style garage with room above. And we're taking our cues for that garage from the style of the house and the neighborhood. You know, in my work in preservation, when I do a sympathetic addition, I try to tell a story. First and foremost, we want the addition to be subservient to the main portion of the existing home. And in addition to that, we want to be in keeping with a carriage house style design. There was no accessory building on the lot originally. I have the 1902 Sanborn map that shows that there was no garage or other accessory building on the lot. The only thing we are removing from the property is in the rear corner, a recent prefab shed, a very recent vintage, which we will be removing. It is in no way keeping with the historic nature of our project. Bear with me one moment. When we first approached this project, this existing rear portion of the house, it's a one-story piece at the back of the house, everything we were able to investigate from the property indicated this was a later one-story addition. The foundation is a different type. It's a crawl space foundation. Whereas the main house has a full-depth basement. The stone doesn't match on the foundation of this portion. The proportion of the roof, the main house has very steep roofs in keeping with arts and crafts shingle style. None of this matched. However, it is shown on the 1902 Sanborn map. So while we believe it was a later addition, it was done not long after the house was built in the early 1890s. Therefore, we originally proposed to reconstruct this portion. We can instead, if the board prefers, retain it and simply extend it to meet the carriage house portion of the addition.
If you could please stand back about 6 to 8 inches away from that microphone, it is just...
Is that better? Like,
Yeah.
to me, it feels like it's not catching it if I'm this far back.
If you're right on it, it doesn't. You need to be about 6 or 8 inches away from it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So we really are proposing, as I said, our original strategy was we were going to reconstruct this piece in more proportion to the original house and extend it to meet the carriage house portion of the addition. Since applying and finding it on the Sanborn maps, we can instead, of course, retain it. The only difference in the two pieces this dashed line represents the one-story piece that's existing, its roof line. We were proposing to lower that slightly to create a better hierarchy of main house to link to carriage house. We can instead simply keep that line and roof line and extend it all the way across. And the difference in width of the new piece versus the existing is only a foot. So again, we can simply keep that existing piece and simply extend it across and make the additions shown here. We're happy to do either, having had this new piece of information since applying to you of finding the Sanborn map from 1902. Just to talk about the main portion of the house again and what we're planning to do. Again, the original siding from our photos from the Historical Society was shingle all the way through. We're going to restore that, keeping all the existing trim, brackets, and other details. The brick is being restored, the stone foundation is being restored. All of this wonderful carved bas-relief detail will be restored. And I'm not showing you an interior plan, but just to show you some of the richness of the interior detailing of the house, all of which will be restored. Built-in stair newels, the original windows. There are replacement...
We don't need to know anything about the interior,
Okay.
so.
There are replacement windows on the main portion of the house that we'll be replacing with new windows that are in keeping with the original windows that still remain, and we'll be using those same windows on the addition. So our hope at the end of the day is that while it will be obvious it was an addition, it will be completely in keeping and in complement to the original architecture.
So I have a question right away. If you
Yes.
go back to the larger picture that's underneath, where you were showing us What is there currently?
Yes.
As far as the piece of the extension you're talking about?
So this is the current one-story addition. Again, it's beaded clapboard as opposed to the shingle that we know was on the main house. And it has a different detail at the base as well. You can see here at the main house, it's stone with brick up to the first story. This is stone up to a whitework water table. So basically, if we keep this, we would be keeping the same profile in the clapboard, extending it across, and then adding a small entry porch and are here alongside with the idea that you can park and come into the house through a rear entry sequence. And the design of this is very much as if this were a side porch that perhaps at some time was partially enclosed. And again, we're taking all of our cues, the arch you see here, the asymmetrical dormer, the steepness of this roof pitch, all of these, the bracket detail, which you can just see here, all are coming from the main house. This chimney detail is from the main house as well. So again, we're taking all of our cues, all of our language from the main house.
So I'm going to ask again, just to make sure it's clear. Where they're showing the 4 windows lined up?
Yes, that's all
So
new.
that is all new?
Yes.
Okay.
I did walk by this property on Sunday, and just wanted to point out to the board and other interested parties that when you're on Pembroke Avenue, that whole side that you're going to be adding onto is a significant view. And at least as far as the plans which you've shown, I think it's going to improve that view considering what's there right now.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you very much.
Any comments from the board? No. I would like to recommend a certificate of appropriateness for this. Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor? Carrie, no?
Very well prepared, and I especially appreciate the
Thank you. If I could ask for clarification, is the certificate for the plans as submitted, reconstructing the one-story piece, or for extending it?
I like reconstructing it to make it match what it looks like should be there. So I will recommend based on that. Do I have a second for that to make sure we know?
I'll
We
second
agree?
that.
Second
So
that?
as submitted.
As submitted, yes. Okay, so that's 3. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Sorry, I just wanted to praise the architect for a very complete and well-researched presentation as well. That's all.
Thank you.
And I apologize, I forgot to ask for public participation. Did anybody want to comment on that? No? Okay. All right, I'd like to look at HARB 2016-07, 414 Radnor Street Road.
Hello, my name is Juliet Kozak. I'm the architect for the project. Basically, the project includes a 2-story addition to the rear of the house, which replaces a small 1-story addition that was built, we think, around 1970s. In addition to the addition, there's also a garage, an existing 2-car garage, which we'll be replacing with another, what we think is more appropriate 2-car garage. So this is the existing house seen from the street. This is the existing site plan. And here we have the proposed site plan. So this is the main house. Here is Radnor Street Road. This is an existing, can you hear me okay? Is that, should I? This is an existing porch that was screened in, and we're going to make that part of the conditioned living area. This is the 1970s addition, which we will be removing in order to build this new addition right here, which is a two-story addition. This shows the footprint of the existing garage. It's actually fairly visible from the street. It includes a two-car garage door. And so as part of the new plan, we'd like to make that two separate single doors, which we feel better fits the proportions of the house. The foundation on that is crumbling. It's a concrete block garage. I hope you'll agree that it's not, that the new plan is an improvement. We're also moving it off the property line by about 5 feet so that it's more tucked behind the house and not as visible from the street.
I'd like to make one comment. I also did a walk by on Sunday with your property, and definitely with the garage, just being there on the street, you can see this really huge garage. So
Yeah.
now that you're
There's
making
right
it
there.
more in line with, the site of the property, because it just looks awkward back there. It looks like it was like an afterthought, and I think that's quite an improvement.
Thank you. I think it was an afterthought. Here's the picture of the existing garage. So it has this really wide door on it. So we'd like to break up that facade by doing two single garage doors. These are the views of the house. This is over here, the small addition that we'll be removing in order to build the addition. And this is a view of the existing porch that's now a screened-in porch. But what we would like to do is add some windows to it so that it can become conditioned space.
Will the foundation support it?
No, we're doing a new foundation in the same footprint. And we're salvaging the existing posts, which we think are original to the house, and then just infilling with windows instead of screens. So here are the plans. Over here, looking from the side, this is the existing house. This is the proposed addition. From the street view, there's really not much change to the street-facing facade, except that we're adding those windows to the screen porch. From the rear, we tried to kind of mirror what's happening at the front of the house by doing a similar entry feature at the rear door. We are also matching pretty much as we could from the original house in terms of window proportion, even though they're a little bit bigger in order to meet current egress standards for bedroom windows. They needed to get a little bit bigger, but we tried to keep the kind of tall, skinny windows. And then as far as roof pitch goes, we're matching the same roof pitch that's on the original house here for the addition back here. It's a little bit smaller so that it's not taking away from the original house. If you're looking straight on from the street, you won't be able to see the addition in that all the roof of the addition is lower than the main house roof. I guess I'll talk about the garage too, since we're here. This is just a view from the rear of the property looking towards the street. And then for the garage, we're doing, as I said, single carriage house style garage doors. We're doing a couple dormers to just break up that roof plane. And this is facing the rear of the property. So there's really not much back there. And we have our side elevations.
Is it just going to be storage on the second floor of the garage?
Yeah. It's all unconditioned.
what are we exactly going to see from the road? It sounds like there's a little bit of change to the porch on the one side. We'll see a little bit less of the garage. Do you see any of this addition from the street at all?
Probably from an angle, you'll be able to catch a glimpse of the rear addition, because it is a two-story addition, but really not. This is pretty much what you're going to see.
Yeah, I would like to just comment on that because I did, again, walk by your property. In my opinion, you're not going to see any of it, really, if you go there. Even like on the left side, if you're facing it, and you have that porch there are like trees there that also, they're mature trees, and they kind of like even block more of the view. So you're not going to see, I think, in my opinion, after being there, any of this in the back. And again, moving the garage over is at least something visually positive if you go there. Again, the existing garage back there is just out of proportion to anything else that's there with this colonial type house.
Thank you. Yes, and the addition is also stepped back from, if you look at the plan, the addition is stepped back from the side on the driveway side so that it's not too in your face.
Did we have any comments from the public on this? Any other comments from the board?
I had only one question, which you were saying at the beginning is totally relevant to the addition. What year was it built?
In 1923, I believe.
The original?
The original. Standard Center Hall Colonial.
At this time, I'd like to recommend a certificate of appropriateness for this plan as shown. Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor? 4?
Thank you very much.
Okay, we have HARB 2016-08, 19 Luella Court.
Hello, I'm William Campbell. I'm the architect on the project here. I'm proposing to construct a new garage in the southeast corner of the property. This is 19 Luella Court. This is the lot there. This is it in another perspective. This is Lancaster Ave. This is Lancaster Ave. This is Lancaster here, and here's the lot again. The garage is being proposed to be constructed there, and this is Luella Court Drive there. This is the existing home at Luella Court. This is looking east from down the street to Luella Court, and this is looking west towards Luella Court. Across the street, you have 2 underground garages. This is 217 Lancaster Ave. It will come into play when I describe the construction of the garage itself. This is view looking towards Luella Court from Lancaster Ave, and this is the retaining wall, and this is Luella Court here, 19 Luella Court there. This is looking at the rear of the property. From the parking lot of the bank, correct. This is the existing site plan here indicating 19 Luella Court, and this is the bank parking lot there, the 217 Lancaster Ave. We're proposing to build an underground garage with the entrance from Lancaster Ave, the parking lot of the bank. So at Luella Court, there's no visual of this garage at all. It's all underground. This would be the entrance driveway from the parking lot side into the garage. And the architectural plans This is a elevation of what you would see from the park lot of 217 Lancaster Ave. And this is a perspective looking at the bank drive-through and the actual garage entranceway. So from 19 Loyola Court, you visually do not see anything of the garage.
I have a question, if you would, please. Who owns the retaining wall?
Mike?
Hi, my wife and I own Mike O'Neill. We own on the 217, we own the apartment on the second floor, and we also own 19 Loyola Court.
Okay. Oh, you own them both?
Yes. Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That's convenient.
Just so I can wrap my head around this, how, it feeds into the house then?
No.
Or it's
totally
for the,
separate.
okay, sorry.
The garage itself. This is the perimeter of the garage. The house is up here. This is the corner of the house here. The rear.
So the garage isn't servicing the house, the garage is servicing the other property?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Correct.
That makes it a little easier to understand.
Okay. Sorry.
That's why I asked you owns the wall.
Okay, sorry about that.
It's okay.
Would also like to ask a question. I did a walk by a property also too. Is there a wooden shed back there that's visible from the street that's there now at 19 Luella? It seemed like
There's nothing there. Yeah.
that's the neighbor's property.
At 17.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you for clarifying that. I have another question. With the space back there, do you think it would give it a more crowded feel? There seems to be limited space back there in the back of 19 Luella in that area. Do you think that this would take away?
This will be completely underground and landscaped right over. Right over the backyard, you'll see nothing.
You'll see nothing. Okay.
Just grass and landscaping, that's all we can see.
All right, that clarifies it. Thank you.
I have another question. Two separate properties now.
Yes.
If at some point you wish to sell just 19 Luella, are you going to ask for subdivision so that the garage now goes with the apartment?
No, there are permanent easements to both properties. So the house can use that garage, and they have an easement across this property to do so. And the apartment can use that garage, and they have an easement across the house's property, permanent easements. So there's no reason to subdivide it.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
This is interesting. So, yeah, so 19 Luella is in the historic district, but the property that you're viewing this from and that's utilizing this is not. It's a commercial situation. Yeah, I don't think I have, do you guys have any other questions? Is there anyone from the public that would like to make a comment? This is interesting, but at this point, I think it's okay to recommend a certificate of appropriateness for this project. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? All in favor. Congratulations, guys. At this time, are there any other matters that would like to be brought forward? All right, at this point, I'd like to adjourn.